All right, let's begin. I want to welcome everybody to this evening's general meeting. Apologize for being a few minutes behind. We'll call the meeting to order. We have a council attendance, moment of silence, council agenda acceptance, rules of order, follow up from the last meeting. We have a couple presentations this evening. We'll be introducing our new Director of Health, as well as we'll have an honoring this evening of a community member. We'll have a presentation on the Gawanoge Bridge corridor improvements, as well as an update on the Gisnina Administration Building, which is proposed here down at the School Road. We'll give an update on the Akwesasne election law, as well as an update on the Chiefs of Ontario Wealth Creation proposal. That will be on a presentation. We'll provide an update on roads, some of the lobby efforts that are ongoing to meet the road needs within the districts. We'll have business from the floor, a resolution, announcements, as well as the next general meeting announcement will be made. Right now, we'll do an attendance call. We have Dennis Shosi, who is unable to join us this evening. April Adams Phillips has a sick member of her family who's not able to join us. Chief Ryan Jacobs is attending on behalf of council graduation ceremony in the city of Cornwall. And I think that's it. That's the attendance. So before we accept formally, I will, it's been our protocol over the last 2 years that we observe a moment of silence for those members of the community that we've lost since the last general meeting. We have a cancellation protocol, and we want to acknowledge those members who have passed. Send our condolences to all of those affected by grief. So I'll ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, I've read out the agenda. If I could have a mover to accept the agenda, moved by Tim, second by Joe Lazor. All in favor? All right, thank you. And just so you know, as a matter of protocol, we do record our general meetings now. There is a microphone that I do have on, we'll use for some of the presentations. On the, more so on the feedback that we've gotten from the people who are watching the video, they're not able to hear the presentations, so the microphone is feeding into the recording so that those who are watching at home are able to hear the presentations. So I'll go through the rules of order. So this evening we have, we'll ask that everybody please be respectful of one another. We'll start the meeting at approximately 6 p.m. till about 8 p.m. We ask that personal issues not be dealt with in the public forum. Any personal issues that you'd like to raise, we'll take it back for one-on-one between either members of council or appropriate people of the MCA to discuss those issues. If you have any questions or comments, we ask that you please raise your hand. I'll start a list of the speakers or questions. I'll acknowledge you prior to you asking a question. We ask that the questions please remain relevant to the presentation. There is an opportunity later this evening, the business from the floor, that we can talk about issues generally, but we ask that you please keep the questions related to the presentation. That way we can move along. Some people may have time limits and want to hear information specifically about the presentation. So we do log follow-up items from each general meeting. So if there are issues that council is asked to follow up on, or questions that you would like to have addressed, we do log those and we report them back at the next general meeting. So we'll continue on doing that, which is actually follow-up from our last general meeting. There is in the packages that you have, we've made a couple copies. We are trying to reduce the amount of paper that we use, so we have the package here electronically on the presentation as well. Any of the material this evening we can make available to you either in paper form later on or electronically through email or other means. We're just really trying to reduce the amount of paper that we use at our meetings. And you'll notice that over the last couple of months, we have members of council that use iPads. That's because the document that you see here is downloaded onto there so that we're not carrying big packages around. So Before we move on, I do just want to acknowledge that we do have two people in the audience this evening who are not members of our community. One of them is the Director of Health as well as our Executive Director of the Mohawk Council. I just want to acknowledge them that they're not members of the of Akwesasne, but for a matter of protocol. So. But with that, I will move on to our first presentation. And we wanted to give the community an opportunity to meet our newly recruited health director, Keith Leclerc, who is joining us here with the executive director. And we just wanted to introduce him to the community, give him an opportunity to introduce himself to you, tell you a little bit about his background, and we welcome him aboard. So we'll turn it over to you. No, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. So as we mentioned, we wanted to give an opportunity for the community to meet the new health director for Mohawk Council and give him an opportunity to tell you a bit about who he is. And you've heard him extend his invitation to all of you to meet with him at any time at the Gunnequotsaleo Health Facility. So Keith, on behalf of council and the community, welcome aboard. Thank you. All right, so we'll move along. We did have the follow-up action items from the last general meeting. Unfortunately, they are in your packages this evening, but the printing for the actual follow-up hasn't been put on the report, so we'll have to defer that until next month's general meeting. I apologize for that. So, our next presentation, I'm going to turn over to Chief Troy Thompson to give a bit of background on the presentation and then call forward the community member in which we'll be honoring this evening.
Good evening. The Mohawk Council of Wakasasan created a book of accomplishments called Yokogwenyo, which means we accomplished it, to document and celebrate significant and noteworthy accomplishments of the people of Wakasasan in the realm of academics, sports, art, culture, environment, etc. from 2015 onward. We have some really incredible athletes here in Wakasasan who are traveling all over the world and the continent to compete at the highest levels. The North American Indigenous Games is just around the corner. And we have 52 athletes playing 8 different sports. And I'm confident many of them will win the gold. We are extremely proud of them all. Tonight we honor Nolan Perrance for his accomplishments in wrestling. His list of accomplishments are very impressive. He's the 2015 New York State Division champion at the Senior Central School. That's the first one. He's the 2014, 15, and 16 silver medalist at the Junior Women's Canadian Freestyle Championships. He's the 2014, 2015, 2016 gold medalist at the Junior Men's Canadian National Greco-Roman Championships. He's the 2016 gold medalist at the Junior Pan American Championships. He finished 3rd place at the 2016 University Greco-Roman National Championships. He's currently wrestling at the University of Buffalo and has a record of 28 and 12. And last year he made All-American honors. And he was also 2016 Canada Cup silver medalist. Lastly, Nolan's Olympic boat club, 2020 game for Tokyo. He could be up against the first of the game. How amazing would that be? Very impressive is his list of accomplishments. Despite winning numerous tournaments, championships, and awards, Nolan remains a humble, well-respected man. His mother, Alex David, says, Nolan has had amazing accomplishments in the wrestling mat. The life he lives is easy, facing sacrifices, The hours of work and disappointments still comprise most of what has brought him, and despite some major setbacks, he never gives up. He has seen more determination and discipline than anyone I know. But what I'm most proud of the man, what I'm most proud of is the man who's grown to be off the mat. When coaches, teachers, friends, strangers stop her to tell her how polite he is, how kind he is, that he works hard, that he's respectful. Those are the qualities very genuine father. His father, Jason, says, I am most proud of Nolan's humility and his drive. He's always pushing himself. He never gets too high on himself or too low. He is well aware that in spite of his achievements, that there is still much work to be done. There is always a long-term goal. Any successes or failures along the way are merely used as a learning experience. These are character traits that will serve him well for a lifetime. Nolan is on his way to becoming a fine young man and a great human being. His politeness, friendliness, and contagious smile are indicative of his down-to-earth personality. Sister Hadley says, the best thing about my brother is that he gives me strong hugs that become a family. I like that.
So Nolan, on behalf of Mohawk Council of Wakusasnet, I'd like to congratulate you on your various accomplishments that you've achieved so far in your young career. You have a very bright future ahead of you, and we wish you the best of luck. You're a great role model for our children and a terrific representative for Wakusasnet. Keep making us proud. Put your hands together for Nolan Thorance.
I hope that's not a wrestling injury. Yeah. Say, who broke you?
I have a sticker for you too. I want to get a photo of Nolan and his family and council too.
All right, we're gonna do this once more.
All right, we'll move along with our other presentations this evening. I want to thank you for your indulgence as we presented the certificate and were able to take a photo with Nolan and his family. So now I want to turn the floor over to Leslie Papineau from the Department of Technical Services, as well as Curtis Lazor from the Department of Denawago. We're going to go through a presentation on the Gawanoga Bridge Corridor improvements that are being proposed at this time. So we do have a presentation that they would like to go through with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Curtis Lazor. I'm the lead on the Gawanoga Bridge Corridor Improvement Project. We're going to go through a slideshow with you, showing a number of focus meetings, community meetings, and MCA general meetings. What we're doing is we're putting it out to the community about us to give us some feedback on what they would like to see in the Gawanoga Bridge Corridor. Mohawk Council has Federal Bridge Corporation as well as St. Lawrence International Bridge Corporation on doing the last stages of the contract for the bridge demolition and replacement. So now that the old span of the Three Nations Bridge Cross is taken down and replaced, now they want to do improvements to the corridor. So we're working with a concept designed from 2009 when this whole project was being discussed with the council. We have some images forward, please. Just some background. I have some dates here from when the project started back in 2002 with the idea of replacing the bridge and demolition of the bridge. I have some handouts at the back. You can pick them up. You can follow along with the handouts. So anyhow, 2002, we did a harmonized environmental assessment. It's the first time it's been done in Canada. Our environment program partnered with the Federal Bridge Corporation, using our framework based on the Alberta was that part of the Thanksgiving address and the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act. First time it's ever been done. Our scientific officer, Henry Lickers, thought this was a good way to go as it impacts our people directly as well as impacts Canadian and international travelers into the territory. November 2004, a preliminary design came forward with some road widening and improvements. And a little later on in the presentation, we'll show you what we propose as far as improvements. In 2005, a conceptual plan came out, and this included the CBSA facility that was going on. Since then, CBSA has now moved to Cornwall. So these plans are working on this. The idea that the CBSA, the Canadian Border Services Agency, is still going to be on Cornwall and Gawanoga. In January 2006, our harmonized environmental assessment report was completed. submitted to Canada, accepted. Another conceptual plan came out in 2009, still with CBSA and Illinois. And then things happened. Customs moved to Cornwall. So July 2012, the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act came into play, requiring all Canadian agencies to do an environmental assessment. So we're at it again. 2017, Mohawk Council's been granted a contract 4B and 5 for the last stages of the bridge replacement. Next slide, please. Here's the project area. We're working with from the Crossroads on Galway to the North Bridge of Button. All this area through here. Peachtree Mall, Express Gas, the Seaway buildings, and the road to crew garages, along with some residential areas. Next slide, please. So here are overlays of what they proposed in 2009. This is what we're bringing to the community. So there are some features in here with a roundabout access road, with what's called a cul-de-sac, turnaround, access points for CP holders or property owners here in the corridor as well as here. Ideas for road widening, turning lanes, all-terrain vehicle path on the west side of the corridor, as well as a pedestrian walking bicycle path on the eastern portion of the corridor. Other features that they proposed were a welcoming park here, where the old on-ramp to the old bridge was. Now that's leveled. And as you pass through there, you can see that it's gravel now, and they're put down topsoil. So they came to us and they asked us, can we plan something? We have a budget, we want to work with you. So the Department of Environment took it on hand, as well as the Department of Technical Services, to do the environmental assessment in this area. So what Federal Bridge wanted us to do was to do the environmental assessment in between the fence. And what our environment program said, that's all disturbed land, it's just pretty much grass and fence the fence. There are some native plants in there. So we went further. Next slide, please. We decided to do an environmental assessment to create a baseline to see what parts of our natural world are going to be impacted by these improvements. So we're going 150 feet past the fence into these areas that are shaded onto the lots and properties of community members. We're finding a lot of interesting plants, animals, insects, birds living in those woods. Some mature wooded areas. Different features where years ago someone tried to build a house, but abandoned foundations, what have you. A lot of areas on the western side are more or less started to develop. Residences, businesses, and the like. A lot of areas on the eastern side are still pretty much intact. Woods and wetlands and what have you. Next slide. This is an aerial image. We partnered with the St. Richmond Tribe's Tribal Clerk's Office. They have access to a drone that they purchased and they use for flyover assessments. This picture here is actually two pictures and it was stitched together. It's a look at the crossroads here to the North Bridge of Button. This is at 400 feet above the surface. Next slide, please. So our intent is to offer a community voice in the direction and the design of North Bridge Corridor with the Three Nations Bridge crossing. We're getting some questions at some of our meetings. Our community members want answers. We don't have answers. We're taking comments, we're writing them down, and then we're sending them up the line. This is what our community wants. These are our ideals. We want images of our people, our community. We want green spaces. We want recreational areas where we can picnic, where we can walk, where we can ride our bikes. We don't have to worry about traffic. We're encouraging directions for discussions for design implemented by the MCA working group and the community to foster community preference for the design of the corridor. We have various departments and programs at the MCA for working group meetings, and we're constantly gathering input from the Aboriginal Rights and Research Office, from Nationville, from Opposition to Mohawk Police, from the ambulance, conservation, and so on and so forth. Wherever we get a clue of feedback that we have from the community, then we go off and we try to find those answers and we gather that information. Say, look, there's a need for the fire department to be here. If there's an emergency, we make it look pretty like a boulevard and we reduce traffic and slow traffic down by putting speed on. That may be detrimental to some of our community members who are in an ambulance trying to get to the hospital. We don't want, we have to come up with alternatives. And third point here is we're updating the community throughout the planning process as well as to provide opportunities for members to comment throughout the planning process, and we encourage feedback. Yesterday, Aboriginal Day, I had an elder come to my house. I was on the porch grilling. Didn't have an opportunity to speak up at one of our community meetings. Took their opinion. And that's important. It's important that we feel our voice is being heard, whether it's in a public forum like this or if it's private. And I encourage everyone in this room, if you have some comments, please contact me. Get a hold of me at my office, my email, telephone. So the purpose of this project is to increase the effectiveness, efficiency, and the safety along the corridors. It's a public international crossing. Next slide, please. So, technical aspects and technical goals, I'm going to turn over to Leslie. You can follow that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie Haka. I work for the Department of Technical Services. I'm just going to go through the various technical goals that we see. The intent is to obtain technical input from for the improvement of the general mobility and traffic flow of the bridge corridor by means of the following experts, which we've obtained and help with. We've contacted various sources. This includes the traffic safety and design engineers, and historical cultural experts, communication specialists, essential emergency services. This includes fire, rescue, and police. And also the Akwesasne Tourism Working Group. So those are just a few. By any means, we also encourage the community to come and we welcome feedback also. Next bullet, the MCA has requested a traffic study from the Federal Bridge and the Seaweed International Bridge Corp. The current statistics that we see from SIUC from May 1st, 2016 to April 30th, 2017, cars was roughly 2.2 million, trucks 69,395, for a total of 2.3 million. This is just approximate. We're still in the process of obtaining more information to confirm those numbers. Next bullet, improvements to pedestrian safety, including the walkways, the side road services, road signage, and lighting. So we're still in the process of obtaining that. Further, regarding community goals, Our intent is to obtain community input for areas of concern based on current corridor situations within the project that pose hazards. It's important. We obtained community feedback on the previous 2009 concept, the improvements in design features, which we found from the current 2009 layout doesn't pose what is needed for today. So the design has to change to suit. We've received various community feedbacks and needs. So we just keep updating the list. I'll run through the list. So various community members have provided input, feedback. They would like development of the tennis and volleyball courts, possibly in the cross box. Provide a food market, programmable traffic light, permeable walking surfaces for sidewalks and natural irrigation, durable benches, seating, flower boxes, sustainable landscaping with low maintenance, solar power lighting, signage development to be consistent with throughout the community, best billboard advertisements, prefer programmable traffic lights and pedestrian crossing rather than roundabout. They would like FBC, the Federal Bridge, to consider extending the bridge corridor design to the south section, part of that, of the Crossroads, rather than the proposed South Landing Park. The option of a hammerhead turnaround versus a cul-de-sac for the service roads. Incorporate rumble strips at the crossroads. Security along the corridor. Safety pedestrians walking along the corridor is key. Toll booth relocation option. Speed bumps on ATV trails with stop signs. Road trees should not impede the view. Retain a concrete pier from the old bridge for Akwesasne. And it's an opportunity to present a showcase Akwesasne, to beautify Akwesasne. So proposed project that we see in 2009, from the 2009 drawing, improvements to the international roadway was to include side service roads. You see here, sidewalks along the corridor from the Crossroads to the North Channel Bridge, ATV pathways, and traffic roundabout improvements to Crossroads. Also included is a center median, with center turning and emergency vehicle laneway, and a cul-de-sac connection with side roads, and signage and wayfinding greetings. From what feedback we've received, this just views images, conceptual images. The replacement of existing chain link fence with natural vegetation, stone, wood, or metal type fencing. Programmable traffic lights and crosswalk at crosswalk intersections. The inclusion of durable outdoor furniture, park settings along the corridor, and soft outdoor lighting. So these are just options, ideas that we would that we're looking for the community feedback. So from the main corridor, the south end, the 2009 concept, the intention was to look at the south, they call it the South Landing Park, and which is the entrance to and from the Akwesasne community. So it's a proposed site called the greeting site. So this view just shows you the location there. And this is just a drawing layout of the greeting site. This was 2009. What we're seeing now from the community is that doesn't work for us now in our current, based on the fact that the toll booth and customs have moved south. So even with the park, nobody can stop in that area and then go along. So you have to report in first and then turn around and come back. So it just doesn't, it's not feasible for now. This conceptual model was done in 2009. This was done by the Federal Bridge as a concept they would take part of the retaining structure of the bridge and incorporate it into that South Landing Park. So again, based on comments, it's not feasible to what the intentions of what we want to do today. There was a concern regarding safety with the existing structure of the bridge, so it would work. Again, there's design considerations. What exactly would this space be for the space? Is it a welcoming space for the public? Is it an opportunity to share historical references and cultural information, wayfinding and signage? Is it just green space? Is it a space for pedestrian lookout where you can overlook and look out into the water? Does it connect to walking trails? And there's opportunity. Is there opportunity for art installation features? And must provide a space that's easy to maintain and be self-sustaining. So it's still up in the air. It's still not confirmed. But we're looking at various options. Opportunity for local artists to provide art installations along the corridor. So this is from an example from Junie Fox, local artist. Dave Fadden, another local artist, cultural artist, that we would include possibly some form. Here's an opportunity there for other local artists. Okay. This one is an example from Darren Goenpark, historian. He's got he has the proposal for the accessing historical markers, and what he's doing is around the arena grounds, he's providing concept, provide markers, signage along the proposed arena walking trail. So we thought maybe this would be a good idea to include him in the corridor also. Again, it's an option. Landscape features for the site. It's not necessarily at the South Park landing spot, but along the corridor. We're looking at design with cultural significance, place for the community, use of natural landscape and materials, landscape to be self-sustaining, and the opportunity to showcase our community. So these are just examples of imagery. We are looking for what is the theme. Is there a theme out there? We have the inclusion of bench seating, tiered steps overlooking the river, different forms of lighting, the interplay of soft and hard surfaces, which is landscape materials, outdoor furniture, etc. This is just existing photos of the at the Crossroads and along the corridor. The photos of Express Gas. So it's all existing, what's here now, and what we could do, our next step forward would be. So we would take all this information forward and provide a conceptual sketch. That would be our next move. Once we get all the information in from the community and propose something. If this is approved from the community, we would take it to, the next step would take it to the federal bridge and see if they would approve and based on if funds are available. And then we would give that to the design consultants for their feedback. And that's it.
Are there any questions on the presentation?
I'd just like to add, at our last meeting with our team here, Mohawk Council of Justice team, working group team, with Federal Bridge and SIBC, we asked them those questions. Like, do we have to go through with your plans for the Memorial Park, the South Landing Park? They did not say no, they did not say yes. So we're remaining hopeful that we can take that funding and put it elsewhere within the corridor to achieve the goals of this project. Other issues that we discussed were, well, maintenance. Well, who's gonna cut the lawn, who's gonna plant the flowers, who's gonna put the mulch around. SIBC didn't say they would. MCA didn't say they would. So those are things that we're gonna have to figure out. But what we're trying to do is get comments from the community, what would you like to see? Then we can start figuring out, okay, no South Landing Park for sure. We want that money to go into more permeable walkways. We want more walkways. We want park-like benches where we can go and sit and enjoy open space with families. We want trees. There's an option for trees to plant fruit trees, nut trees, to enhance the wildlife. So we just want to put that out there, and we want feedback from the community.
A question.
Yes.
Whatever you guys decide on decorating that corridor, is it possible to utilize like Habitat for Humanity? They have a lot of awesome stuff there. I'm renovating my house and I went there and there's a lot of cool ideas. Instead of spending money on a $800 tree or fencing, Habitat for Humanity is an awesome place and they're actually moving to Cornwall at the old Metro. So it's a really big, I'm just saying, you know, instead of spending all the money decorating, I mean, can you not reuse?
We actually got a pretty good partnership with the Aqueduct Tourism Working Group. And we're talking about branding, so we want to have the same signs throughout Aqueduct and North and South. We want the same kind of bench. So when we get visitors to the community, it's like a visual aid to say, oh, that blue bench, that blue beverage stand, that blue picnic table, this is still Aqueduct. So we're talking about signage too. Yes?
What's your timeline?
I'm doing an environmental assessment, so we're targeting October for that. And then it's gonna go to Federal Bridge, they're gonna review it. And of course, we're gonna have to have some design meetings and what have you. I'm not sure what design, what their target timeline is. So they'll review the environmental assessments and what we're looking at is species at risk. That's our real concern. Yes.
Does any of your scope of design include usage of the St. Lawrence River as like a recreational sort of thing? If you have, will it go down as far as the river? Will you have access to, you know, walk along the river or put any buildings along the river? I'm referring to things like boat races. I don't mean motorboat races, we have lots of those. But the cruise, rowing cruise, kayaks, dragon boat races. It's seasonal, of course, but I just wondered if you had thought about using the water as an attraction for things like that.
In the past, with the Department of Economic Development, there was discussions around a trail system with the community, especially with going over to connect that circle with Genoa for the ideas are coming out. The ideas they're more, they're starting to foster more thinking. But we'll take that suggestion.
Use the water is, you know, what better,
Yes.
what else is there? Put that to a good use and not a, you know, well, fine, you know, we have something mighty special there.
Thank you. Question over here.
Yeah, I seen I came at the end of the meeting, I just cut the last part. I seen 4-wheeler trail proposals on there. Did you have SNI roads on there? Because SNI roads are starting to look like 4-wheeler trails themselves. You know what I mean, what's up? Did we get the roads fixed? I used to have 20s on my car, now I don't. You know what I'm saying? It's really bad.
Unfortunately, I'm doing the Going Bridge Corridor project.
Oh, all right.
There's a line item on the.
Who did I talk to about the SNI roads? Which one of you guys?
Another question over here?
Someone
Yeah.
over what she was just talking about. Who
That
has
usual.
all the ownership to the piers that are there? Is that all the Seaway Bridge? Like, wouldn't that be cool to turn that into a zip line? Or, you know, something cool, like, I'm saying, like, look at these big piers. maybe a big swing or something, you know?
I
To
think
go along
that'd
with
be
the
a
water.
responsibility of the federal bridge.
That is them, huh? That's that side. Pretty awesome.
Any more questions before we conclude?
No, we're good.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yes.
Are they gonna take those pillars down? Or no?
There was, I think there is talk about its funding on, by the federal bridge. I think they're looking for funding, they ran out of money, I think. So there is talk of it, but I know that the city of Cornwall wants to retain one of the tallest one. So there's been talk about, okay, well, is there something, can us keep one of them also, or, yeah, so it's a question out there to the bridge, whether or not keep it or remove it.
For myself, I think, I don't know how much of that stuff you're gonna be able to save to not go in the water. So I would like to see it as a art thing. Our people love to put pictures and whatnot on the walls of something or whatever. Why can't it be put there, and when we're going across the bridge, waiting in line, we can look at it.
That's a good idea.
All right, are there any other questions for this presentation? Okay, if not, thank you very much to the both of you. Leslie is going to also give us an update from the Department of Technical Services on the proposed Schneider Administration Building.
So I've been asked to provide an update for the SNI min proposed for the SNI here. So I'm just going to read the briefing note. I think everybody has what's listed packages for those that picked up. So in 2010, I'll just give you a brief history. MCA was hired by the Thatcher Workplace Consultant to conduct a space needs study identifying the space needs for the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne. In 2012, a site feasibility report was completed and found that the SNI location was the most viable option, and Council agreed on approving the necessary architectural and engineering drawings. The new administration building would house several of MCA's departments. In 2014, design consultants were retained to prepare the preliminary design for the new 13,500 square foot one-story admin building for the district of SNI, located at the corner of School Road and Yuhahio Road. The new facility would accommodate the Department of Justice, excluding Mohawk Court, and the Department of Housing and Hydro-Quebec office. The design also includes meeting and touchdown spaces for council and the public. The construction of the administrative building provides much needed administrative spaces. In 2014, a geotechnical subsurface investigation was completed by St. Louis Testing. The results concluded in a recommendation to pre-consolidate the site for 2 years. This will assist in the settling of the soil and bearing capacity. The site has been pre-consolidated with loads of gravel up to 3 foot high to load the soil over 2 years. This removed the anticipated settlement. The 2-year duration will end this year, December 2017. DTS would like to continue with their project by proceeding with design development to obtain tender-ready drawings once funds are in place. Design anticipated to be completed by February 2018. Lobbying strategies will continue to identify funds for construction. We're looking for more community consultation meetings and will take place during the design phase. So there's still more to come.
Are there any questions for Leslie on that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Could St. keep justice and can we get medical? I mean, just saying. We could really benefit with medical down here. Or ambulance. Shoot us an ambulance. I mean, they could keep justice. Not against justice, but.
The space needs accommodation report, and it identified key elements throughout the 3 districts.
So we just keep fighting for medical?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
There goes the justice, huh?
Any other questions on that? I thought it was important that we give you an update with respect to that building, proposed building. Okay, all right, thank you, Leslie. Okay, we're going to move on. We wanted to give an update on the Upcross election law. I'll turn it over to Connie. She'll provide you with an update.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming this evening. I just wanted to give you an update from last meeting. We had discussion on the law and where it was at. So as of today, we have set dates. The election law has been accepted in principle through council. It's being printed now, and we hope to have them in mailboxes for the second week of July. We have set 3 meetings for now. The first will be July 13th at 1:30 in Ganadago. The second will be July 22nd at 2 p.m. on Gowanageh. And the third will be August 2nd at 6 p.m. here in Gisnine. So the meetings are going to be arranged as to coincide with the election law and how it's set right now. We had asked that we do the 1:30 afternoon meeting in Ganadago so that we can have employees who would like to attend be able to attend. We want to get everybody's feedback on the law. We hope to also include the review at each district meeting for July, August, and September. So we'll be looking for your feedback on it. We're hoping to set up some kind of email so that you could also send that to us too after you've done review. And it helps with getting us information and your comments so we can look at that as well. So that's just a bit of an update for now. And you can contact the Justice Department with any further inquiries at 613-575-2250, extension 2400. And that's what we have for now.
Go ahead.
Will there be any focus meetings for residents who don't live in 3 districts? For members who don't live in 3 districts?
We can arrange one.
Okay. Because the election law does involve members' leadership, so I just feel that that should be taken a little bit of front seat. As well as the survey report that is spearheading this amendment process, the details are in the report. Will the report fully disclose to the community? I know that there were some survey results.
I thought we had, I can look into that for sure. I thought it was done already, but you know, we can look into that and have that available to us.
As well as the listing, I remember in the survey itself, there was a listing of other, and then they had user input. So users can put in their comments, just to make sure that those details are also released to the public as well. And is there going to be another survey, or is this the last community consultation period before before a special meeting and then the amendments?
Yeah, these focus meetings will be that consultation with the community.
Who is writing the new amendments?
Who is writing them? The working task group has done the work on that, and that's what's in the election law 2017.
Okay. And for the community members who don't know who's on the task force, can you list them off?
We have 3 district chiefs, Chief Louise Thompson, Chief Ryan Jacobs, and myself. We sit as ex officio. We have the Mohawk government manager, which is Chelsea Francis. We also had Lisa Francis Benedict sitting on it formally. We have Joyce King, the Director of Justice, the Chief Electoral Officer, Leona Benedict. And am I missing anyone? It's Joyce King. And the Executive Director, Jordan Wampas.
Any other questions?
Okay. Is there any integration of the chief's duties, or is it just strictly the election law process?
It's just the election law that'll be on there.
Okay. Because I know that on the nation building table, there was talks to try to eventually merge certain aspects that were in the ethical code, as well as the duties of council and procedures of council to be enveloped into eventual governance code. So just making sure if that was being addressed, or is it only the processes for the election law itself, which is just how council is elected?
That's it for now.
Because those components are working at the Anahuatatue table as part of the governance code, so it's a separate.
So is there just as a prelim, section 18, when it comes to amendments, it says once revisions are obtained, council will decide what's appropriate or popular recommended amendments. Is that still in play, or is that going to be something that new upcoming election law amendments will?
Well, that'll be in play because it's still the existing law. The new one won't go into play until after it's accepted. So you still go with the current law and how it's done.
So just to clarify for the audience, council decides what can get amended even though it was brought before council in different mechanisms.
Yeah, it'll be based on a recommendation from the committee. In previous general meetings, we've had a discussion around the process in which has been used to amend the election law. And the process that we have to use is the process that's described in the current law. And recognizing that it's not a perfect process, because ideally we would want very minimal involvement of council and the very minimal ability for council to say what should go in and what should go out, right? And we have struggled with that since the beginning, but that is what we have right now. It's not a perfect situation. With respect to your comments about the duties of a chief and those responsibilities, those are, some are outlined in the election law, very minimal. Some are outlined in the ethical conduct law. And one of the things that we've struggled with is trying to bring those together, to find the resources and the ability to bring those together, and when is the appropriate time. Unfortunately, we have to start somewhere, and right now it's just with the election law to find, what the community sees needs improvements. So that's where we're at right now.
Just two more questions. One is regarding sorry, I lost my place.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, just
Yes.
so what is the projected timeline to bring this to a special council meeting, assuming the focus meeting doesn't have any further changes and amendments? Is it to be accomplished before the next term of
Yes.
elections?
Yeah. The ultimate deadline, is the very furthest, is the end of December this year, to be completely ratified and accepted to be used.
Okay, so just to clarify for the audience, that would involve a special meeting.
Yes.
And then the members who are present vote.
Yeah. So from now until the end of December would be the total consultation with the community, the amendments, and then the final vote on the final draft for consideration by the end of December. Yes.
The special meeting which you're going to vote on that, is that an open special meeting?
Yes, it'll be a community. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Can I ask,
Yes.
how are you gonna vote? Are we gonna do it standing up? Are we doing it by paper or what?
It hasn't been determined, but my recommendation would be that it be by secret ballot, so that people can vote in anonymity and whether they accept or reject it. So, and that's the last attempt to amend it. That was the process used to, was a secret ballot vote. Was another question from here? No?
I was just, you had asked a question earlier about, who can vote, like if you're off reserve or whatever. I have the survey result.
it says members residing in one district. The percentage is 37%. Members residing permanently in Canada only, 24%. Members residing in Akwesasne, Ontario, Quebec, it's 25%. Members regardless of residence, it's 15%. I guess what will probably be put in the election law is the first one.
Just district only.
But that would be,
That was the question you asked, right?
yeah, but would that be considering the other percentages? Would that be a runoff, or is that?
No, so the committee has taken what the highest percentage was and then introduced that into the draft, right? So there were some areas in the survey that were too close, that they were not considered at all. There's about 5 fundamental changes in the law as it's being proposed.
What brought forth the changes in the law?
Really to modernize it, to try to improve the efficiency of council. It's something that I've pushed on council to. We need to modernize the process in which we use. One of the fundamentals is the shrinking of council, and that's in there. We just felt there was time that, and there are some areas in there that needed to be clarified. So a resolution was brought forward to amend the law. Yes.
On the committee, how many elected officials sat on that?
There are 3 on that committee. They're ex officio, though. They have no voting ability.
None.
No. Again, we've been challenged with the process that we have to use. It's not perfect, right? The reason, but the problem is that what the law says, that's what we have to use. And there's been a lot of discussion on council as to whether council's involvement should be, and if it is, how much. And then with the survey results, there's been a lot of back and forth, what should go forward and what shouldn't. We really need to start somewhere, and that's the product that we put out is somewhere. Recognizing that the draft product is probably going to change quite a bit from now till the end product.
They couldn't have been researched and met on by just straight community members and with no input from council whatsoever, and then put out a community referendum, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the process we used was a committee, a formation of a committee, and they determined that a survey would be done to gauge the community as to where we should start. Again, the process that's used is what's in the law, right? And it's not a perfect process because there are a couple instances in that process where council can say yes or no to the proposal, which I think is fundamentally flawed because really it is the conditions of council that they're saying is yes or no, right? And we've struggled with that.
The only reason I bring it up is because when I was on the area management board, the board members created a job position, right? It's basically the same premise. You're creating law, they were creating a job position for a potential people. And then the board member applied for that job and got the job because they created the so-called law. You know what I mean? And that's where my thing is about, because it affects everyone's income.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to have input on that, I think is unethical.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunately, again, the process that we use is what's in the law, and as we go towards amendment, it's something that needs to be seriously looked at. Any other questions on the law? Okay, thank you very much. The next one is a PowerPoint presentation that's in your packages that I'm going to provide to you. The council recently had a presentation from the Chiefs of Ontario, some staff from the Chiefs of Ontario, and they're representing the Chiefs Committee on Energy. So you may have seen in the news, more on some of the Ontario news, is that Premier Wynne, or the Ontario government, has announced that they're going to sell up to 60% of Hydro One. Currently, or used to be, Hydro One was owned mostly by the province. It was their company. But in an effort to raise money for the province, they've said that they would sell up to 60% of the company through a public IPO process, which is where you buy shares. So at that time, the chiefs in Ontario formulated a position or a proposition to the Ontario government that the chiefs collectively, the 133 First Nations in Ontario, wanted to buy part of these sales, part of these shares that the province is putting out for sale. So I'll go through this a bit because the Ontario government has the broad ownership, as I explained, of Hydro One. The utility owned the majority of electricity distribution and transmission infrastructure in the province of Ontario. So they don't make the power, they transmit the power. So big cable lines that move power across Ontario. Main one is Hydro One. So in October 2015, the Chiefs Assembly authorized the Chiefs Committee on Energy to negotiate an agreement in principle for the purchase of these common shares. So we as the Upper community, as part of the Chiefs of Ontario, there's an annual assembly that they have. The Chiefs passed a resolution saying that to go forward with trying to purchase some shares from Ontario. In June 2016, the Chiefs Assembly approved the terms of an agreement in principle. And then in May 2017, the Chiefs Assembly provided approval to put in place the holding structure, an initial equity model to complete the transaction. So the discussions on amending the equity model to begin at the AOCC this past June. So that's a bit of background on how we've gotten there. So this is the key terms of the term sheet. Karen, you want to shut that light off while you're there so they can see this? So what it is that this is assuming that 100% of the First Nations in Ontario agree to this deal. So that means 133 First Nations have to agree. It's 14.85 million, representing 2.5 of Ontario Hydro as a company as a whole. So it's 14 million shares. The purchase price would be $18 per share, which approximately is 20 to 25% less than the share price now. So if you actually were to go on the stock market right now, the shares are trading at about $25. So the agreement that the Ontario Chiefs have negotiated is $18 a share. So initially, we buy them at $18. Right now, if we buy them at $18, they're worth $25. So we've got the price locked in. The total purchase price is going to be $268 million for those shares. So part of the negotiated deal is that $268 million, which is the cost of those shares, will be financed by the province of Ontario. So we're buying shares from the province of Ontario, we're also loaning us money to buy their shares. It's a 25-year loan. It's at the rate of the loan would be at the province's borrowing rates, whatever the province can borrow money at, plus 0.15%. So that's going to be the rate that we'll borrow. The market value of the shares is $358 million. So when I talked about they're $18 a share right now, they're worth $358 million, but we're buying them for $260. The market value to loan is 150% fixed, currently approximately 133%. Part of the deal that has been negotiated by the Chiefs Committee is that the province will loan us the money to buy $216 million in shares, and they'll also provide us with a $45 million advancement if it's accepted by the Chiefs. The closing date is December 29, 2017. That's the end, the most furthest they can push this deal out. And when I talked about 100% participation by the First Nations, there's a threshold. 80% of the 133 First Nations have to agree to the deal before the province will proceed with the deal. So that means that 106 of the communities in Ontario have to agree to this deal. So if there's over 106 but under 133, all of these numbers are prorated. This is the max that the province will sell to the First Nations, and it's prorated based on participation. This slide here talks about how the corporate structure will go if we decide to proceed with this deal. So the top here shows the First Nation partners, which is 133 communities in Ontario. They would form the Ontario First Nations Sovereign Wealth LP, which is a limited partnership. And then they will form two companies that will be owned by the First Nation communities. One will be the Power Holding Company, and the other will be the First Nations Wealth Fund. Our holding company will be the one that holds the shares and borrows the money to buy the shares. The Wealth Fund will be the one that manages the cash and the investments. Next slide. So the Special Chiefs Assembly, in May of this year, the Chiefs Committee on Energy and Hydro One shares have concluded their due diligence as they do process and recommends the following. Invest the initial $45 million based on 100% First Nation participation and any amount realized on the Hydro One shares for 12 years or until the holdings are over $90 million, whichever comes first. So, what the committee is recommending is that if the communities agree, the province advances $45 million, that money gets invested until it's worth $90 million, which is double, or 12 years, whichever comes first. And they adopt a governance structure similar to the OFNLP. So we go back one slide. So currently right now, Akwesasne as a community has a similar structure to this right now. Except for, I guess kind of not this part, but as the communities, we own, we're a shareholder in a company called the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership, which is a corporation owned by us in 133 other communities. And that community, and that company receives money from the Ontario government in the form of Ontario Lottery Gaming Corporation profits. So that would be formerly known as Casino-Rama. So you know that we get money every quarter from the profits. Used to be Casino-Rama, now it's all of Ontario Gaming. So we actually have a similar structure now that exists like this that we're part of, because the communities are the owners of the corporation and they're the beneficiaries of profits from the Ontario Gaming Corporation. So that's the corporate structure that exists now. So when we move the slide forward, so when we talk about adopting a governance structure similar to the OFNLP, that's what we have in Casino-Rama. So adopt the OFNLP equity formula is in the interim, and shares can now be sold within the first 5 years. This will allow time for discussion and decisions on the permanent formula. So the transaction summary, the Chiefs Committee on Energy, Hydro One shares recommends that all First Nations become a partner in the Ontario Sovereign Wealth Corporation. The OFN Sovereign Wealth LP opportunity is a benefit for the following reasons. There's no cash investment by any of the communities, including us. There is no First Nation liability for the repayment of the loan. The transaction will not derogate from rights to pursue past grievances against the former Ontario Hydro One, OPG, OEF Corp in the province. And based on the wealth creation mandate discussion below, this transaction can provide long-term wealth creation for the future generations of First Nations. So, where we are right now is that we're rolling this out to the community for information, for your feedback. So becoming a First Nation partner, every community in Ontario has to give this consideration and whether or not we support the Committee on Hydro One. The engagement material is going to be sent out to our community. We'll distribute that to you. The First Nation decides whether or not they sign on to become a partner in the Sovereign Wealth LP. First Nations attend, been doing webinars for council and community if we're interested. The First Nation provides an executed council resolution and equity partnership commitment and authorities waiver to the Chiefs of Ontario, committing that we're prepared to enter into this. So when we talk about the governance structure, these are these groups listed here, which is the Grand Council Treaty 3, National Nation, Union of Ontario Indians, Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians, Independent First Nations, and unaffiliated. We are part of this group here. So as it exists now, when I talked about the corporate structure of the Casino Rama deal, we have representation on that board of directors via the independent First Nations. So they're proposing the same structure, corporate structure. So the transaction closing process is the June, July, and August is the ongoing community consultation, which we're doing now. And then there's the collection of the equity participation agreements, and completing it by December 29th. And so this is the committee that represented all of Ontario. The negotiating committee with the Grand Chief George Peters was co-chair, Sarah Mainville, Eva Hill, Julie Whitecloud, myself, Phil Hunford, Jason Batiste, Jason Laurent, Gary Allen, and then there was the lawyer that's working on it, Dickinson Wright, as well as this broken company is a financial advisor. So, for us, we wanted to share this information with you. Council will have to decide. What mechanism we're going to use for this approval. If we go back, there is no. Go back to the corporate structure for a second. So this. So when we talked about there's no liability to the community, that's because of this corporate structure that exists. So we'll become partners of this company. This company will own these two companies, and you'll see that this company borrows the money and holds the shares. So if the company were not to pay back, it's this company that ends up having to pay it back. So we're part of this. The company owns the company in this case. So why is the province of Ontario doing this? It really, and we've had this discussion on our council, it really sounds like it's too good to be true, right? They're giving us $268 million in a company that they're selling. They're loaning us the money to buy their company, and there's no liability to us. So why are they doing it? The province is selling 60% of that company to raise money. The province right now is moving into an election. Premier Wynne has been an advocate for First Nation communities in Ontario. She has grandchildren who are Indigenous. She's made a lot of strides in trying to bring the relationship closer together. All polls indicate that she's probably, right now, the election recall, she's not going to make it. So that's why one of the dates that they want to, or they have to have it done by is the end of December, because they'll start rolling into political mode wanting to be re-elected as government. The other thing is that when the province announced that they were going to sell 60% of the company, they didn't consult with First Nations in that decision. And the reason why it would affect us as individual communities or rights holders is because the company owns transmission lines across territories across Ontario, right? The company's a transmission line. So, in essence, in lieu of us, and I mean collectively Ontario chiefs, for not stopping the sale of the company, they've said, all right, don't throw up a consultation card, don't try to take us to court and stop the sale. We'll loan you some money to buy part of the shares in this company. That's essentially what it comes down to. The other thing is that when we look at the actual investment, when we talk about the $45 million, it's projected that we won't actually see a return on that purchase for anywhere from 8 to 10 years. It means we won't get any return on it. All the money that we paid out as an owner will automatically go back into paying the loan. So really, this is about long-term investments as a community. It's not meant to be a quick cash grab that we're going to buy in and sell, make $100,000, whatever it may be, and walk away. It's really about long-term. And the other thing is that through the conditions of the sale is that no community can sell their shares for the first 5 years. If they do, has to be sold to another First Nation community. Can't be sold on the market to anybody else, because again, when you look at the price of the shares, they're selling them to us for $18 or $25. Theoretically, if we bought it, we could make $100 million right off the top, because they're worth 25, they're selling it to us for 18. So there are conditions in the loan that you won't sell the shares for 5 years, and if you do, it has to be to another community. And the one more thing, when we talked about the distribution, so what does that mean for us? Currently, through the Casino-Rama formula, how it works, we receive money from all of the casino gaming revenues. We receive 1.7 gross percent of all Ontario gaming goes into a company that we're part of, and the profits are distributed based on a formula. And there's a remoteness factor, there's a population factor, and a couple other small factors. So what I'm saying is that because Akwesasne is the second largest First Nation in Canada, second largest in Ontario, we receive the second largest payment of profits. So that, if we proceed with this deal, the 2.5% shares, the proposal is that the profit sharing would be similar, actually be the same as the Casino-Rama deal. So we stand as a large community to gain essentially the second most, and the first most would be 6 million. And because we're a large community, if any of the 133 First Nations decide to sell, we are actually in a better position to buy another community's shares than some of the other communities are, because our distribution is much higher than some smaller. So that, we wanted to give you a presentation on that as the Chiefs of Ontario rolls out more information to us. We're going to be rolling it out to you. We'll probably have a couple focus meetings, touch down on a few more general meetings. And ultimately, this is something that our council has to pass a resolution by the end of this year, whether or not we buy into this deal or not. The other thing is that when the final date comes, if you're not in, there's no buy-in afterwards. You buy in the beginning, or you're not getting in at all later on. And when we talked about 80%, 106 First Nations, 80% of the 133 First Nations have to agree before the province will proceed with this deal. If we only get 70 communities saying this is a great deal, the rest of them don't, the deal just goes away. So, any questions? Yes?
You were saying that this company is willing, Canada is willing to give us money so we can buy this, buy into these shares, and there's basically no anything that can happen without repercussions. But there's no such thing as free money. So now, what I'm wondering is, with this company that is failing, why would they give us the money to buy it, let it go under, and now we owe and we lose our land now?
No. So, yeah, a couple things. The province, again, why they're doing it is because they didn't tell us they were going to sell the company. They were supposed to consult before they make decisions that adversely affect us as people, right? They didn't tell us. So we have the ability to challenge them in court and say, no, you're selling your company, 60% of your company, you have transmission lines on that decision to sell affects us. So in lieu of not taking them to court, they said, we'll give you part of this company, right? We're selling it to everybody. If this company goes bottoms up and the shares become, worth $10, but we bought them at $18, that's why this corporate structure is here. The company that borrowed the money will take the hit, not the communities that are owners of it, which can happen in companies. If a company goes bankrupt, the owners sometimes can take a hit, but that's why there's this corporate structure here to protect us as communities from any event that companies, we lose money or company goes back. Yes.
Shit. Let's say they didn't, let's say we don't go for the deal. They vote no. Can we still take them to court?
No, if 80% of the communities agree to this, we end up getting bound to it. But I must say too, though, is we are actually in a pretty good position. One, because, and this doesn't leave the room, 2/3 of our communities in Quebec. This is an Ontario company. And our power provider in the area is not Hydro One. So we don't have any Hydro One infrastructure running through our territory. Our traditional territory, maybe up towards Cornwall, but it's Cornwall, and outside of Cornwall is Hydro One. There are communities who are directly affected by Hydro One in their operation. It's in their backyard. It's not in our backyard, right? 2/3 is Quebec Hydro, the other one is Cornwall Electric.
You just say no, don't let it leave the room, you're filming, man.
Yes, I know.
Everybody else,
Right?
don't listen.
They know. Believe me, they know. Is there a question over here?
It's gonna be edited.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you had any sense yet of the 133 communications. How many, like, are they leaning? Do you have any idea
That
of
are
that
the
yet?
indication of whether they're accepting it or not?
Yeah.
It's a bit early to tell. The ones that I have talked to through the region are on board with it. Because it really is a good deal, right? I mean, the face values, and when the government comes forward with these sort of things, you always say, what is their real deal, right? The Premier is honestly committed to improving First Nations. Problem is that the Premier can only do so much as an individual. It's the government as a whole, right? Let's not forget, she is in rough political shape. Her polls are really low. They'll probably end up going blue, which is conservative in the province, which will not be good for us. And this is really kind of a send-off here from, that's what the political analysts are saying at this point. Yes.
I just want to clarify, the funds that are going to be received from Ontario Hydro One is going to come in to buy their shares. It's going to go to the Ontario First Nations Sovereign Wealth Corporation.
Yeah.
The benefactor in 10 years after we repay through that sovereign wealth will go back to the First Nation partners for distribution.
We'll back up here and then out to the communities. This company here will actually decide what's going to happen to the investments, right? So what early indications are saying is, because we want to have long-term investment, is that all the profits received will be turned back into the investment probably for the first 10 years. That way the distribution is much greater.
What representation does the larger First Nations have at that bottom level?
One.
And that's from this
And I'll tell you that,
council?
I tell you that one of the challenges we face, because we're a large community, is that in the Casino Rama, the whole deal that we have one vote. And there's a lot of communities in Ontario that get pretty upset that we get so much money, but it's based on population. So one of the challenges that we've always faced is that they always want to talk about the distribution formula again, small communities, because they want a bigger piece of the pie. And, we've Six Nations ourselves and some of the 5 large communities have shied away from talking about the distribution again, because theoretically we can be outvoted. They can say large communities capped out at $1 million. And in reality, if we use the same formula, Casino Rama right now pays us about $4.5 million a year. Whereas communities are getting, some of the small communities are getting $500,000. Mr. Mayor?
I was just kind of wondering, going off Paul's question, like the money or the investment that you get like in a 10-year span, well, that money's or like, you're gonna get a cash, you're gonna get a dividend, right? Obviously, you're gonna get a large dividend, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of wondering, will that go, the dividend, will it go into like the Rama money, which is community-based projects? Or will it go into your like running council? Is it being done because you need? It's not because you need, or because it's just to keep the money flowing into council, like into the community to run the organization, basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, so the way the actual distribution is going to happen is not 100% decided because we need to get the communities to buy in first, and then we'll decide what the distribution is. But there's a strong recommendation that it will be the same as the Casino Rama deal. So that means we'll get a big chunk of change. That deals with this whole structure here. But they're
You're not
talking
understanding
about,
my question.
again, they're talking about 10 years though, before we start seeing payments to us as shareholders, right? So what we do as a community with that money that comes in is to be decided by the community. But we will have from the end, from the closing date, about anywhere predicting from 7 to 10 years to decide that, because that's when we'll start getting the payments, and they will be quite significant.
Okay, so you're doing this deal, and let's say in 10 years, as election starts, this whole council is a new sitting council. Will that deal still be in place? They can't deter from what was done today.
This deal will still stay the same.
Okay.
This deal will. The distribution, as far as the community goes, council would have to enter into some sort of agreement with the community that this is how we're going to distribute that, right? We could say that we'll roll all of our profits from this deal into a trust.
Okay.
Or we could say that it would all go into, this sort of mechanism. And I will tell you that as a community, we're starting to have those serious discussions. We've already done it with the community trust that we have. The Dundee land claim is on record for $239 million. There are ongoing works to look at different regimes for this money, this injection of cash that we have in the next level. Yes? Is there a question there? Oh, sorry.
I understand that the returns aren't going to be seen for 10 years, 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So in that time frame is when the community is going to be consulted with respect to how we're going to spend that money when the time comes.
Yeah, so we would ideally, over the next 10 years, make that determination. One of the conditions that we could put upon ourselves as entering into this deal is that council comes up with something before any of that money is spent, right? We make that internal restriction. There's a few bucks now that we have that's like that, that we don't spend because we haven't determined what to do with it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the pot. The annual payment from the Ambridge gas distribution for the gas pipeline, we receive $100,000 a year. We received $1 million when signing the deal in 2006. That money is not. Oh yeah, it's internally restricted, so it's not being used for anything right now.
So the corporation, this structure here, probably similar to what the OLG
the Casino Rama
is, provides reports on a regular basis, and the communities advised of what those reports are.
Yeah, so we allocate that money annually through the $4 million that we get annually, and are provided reports through our financials.
So when you have this kind of corporation, do they get a percentage of the money too?
No, so they would after all the bills are paid, essentially, all the money goes back into the fund, right? So the management would be covered off, and that's it. So it's very, very minimal. Like the Casino Rama now is probably 2 full-time employees. The biggest cost they have is the annual shareholders meeting, which is all the 133 communities come together to do regular corporate business. That's the biggest cost that they have. Otherwise, just strictly flow through, right? The money goes out the door to the communities. I'll just take that off.
Would we be in a position to, let's say the deal went through, would we be in a position to put people from our community into the company to work as electricians or any of that?
As a shareholder of the company, there is ability to raise that at a shareholders meeting, but the likelihood is probably pretty slim. Right? It's just because it's only 2.5% of the company that we would buy. But although having said that, any community person right now can buy shares into this company. It's a publicly traded right now.
At $20 a share.
$24 a share.
$24 a
Yeah.
share.
Okay, so we're going to move along. We wanted to provide this information to you. We will be having more community meetings on this. We do have a deadline of the end of this year to say yay or nay to this. If 80% of the communities agree, January, if we're not in it, we're not getting in. They've already said, because if 80% agree after December 31st, you're in or you're out. There's no way to buy in afterwards. In this deal, right? We could buy shares in the company, but we'll be paying the market price for them. So we'll continue to, over the next couple months, provide you with more information on this and roll it out to the community. So. Okay, I want to now turn to, sorry, yes.
As to our tax exempt status. With all these dollars that we're pulling back and forth.
Yeah.
Is there any jeopardy in
No. Because of the corporate structure, the payments are in the beneficiary of Indians. There won't be any tax paid on our profits, but there are some obviously for the bigger company. Oh, the company as a whole, right? So, well, that's a good question. We'll get more breakdown on that. But because of the fact that we are the shareholders, the communities, the company, and then the borrowing company, there are protections in why that's set up like that. One of them being, if it defaults, we as a community have no risk. We'll get more clarification on the tax question. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn to my colleagues down here at the end of the table. We wanted to provide an update on some of the ongoing work that we're doing on the roads. You had asked earlier about the roads.
The last subject, though.
We're back in 20-inch rims. Just a couple weeks ago, or 2 years ago, we opened up the door to sit with the MTQ and exchange letters, and they agreed to meet with us. Just this past month, they finally came back with a response and actually sat at our table to start negotiations on the roads. So Grand Chief, Portfolio Chiefs, and the DTS department all sat in with them. And they came with a proposal, but the proposal right now is in draft form. But right until we get that proposal in writing at our table, and then we can counter and discuss more things. And the part of negotiations is that we want maintenance dollars from MTQ for the roads in Ganadago and Gisnaine. And we're also talking to them about them supporting road reconstruction. Certain sections of the Gisnaine roads are in dire need of repair. And as the MTQ reps came here, as a strategy, we put them in a school bus and we gave them a tour of Gisnaine. And I asked them to sit to the back.
The Harry King's bus.
But it was a good tour. They got a good education on how our roads are, and we also identified to them that our roads are no longer a want; it's a need for them to give us attention on it. So negotiations are ongoing. We're establishing a committee to, amongst ourselves and with MTQ, to go to higher levels to try and get a multi-year agreement and try and get more funding for our reconstruction of our roadways. So until that happens and until a finalized agreement comes into place, then we will share that all with the public of Ganadago and Gisnaine. Tokini.
Question over here. Is it possible to, I live on River Road and there's a lot of speeders. So is it possible to tear up our roads? I mean, seriously, they do not slow down. The only time they slow down is when they see an Opti sitting right here at the rec hall. I'm concerned because we have a lot of children riding bikes now.
Well, that's I think that question should be directed to public safety. It's because it is public safety when our children are on the roadways
Yeah.
and the speeding cars.
See, but down road, they're not speeding, because the roads are so bad. So you tear up here.
Well, we don't want to tear up perfectly good roads.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, just on a little bit of more information. Prince Thompson and I both sit on co-chaired DTS for the roads, maintenance and reconstruction of the roads. And MPQ is Minister of Transportation. That's what we at the table. That's who we took on a bus drive, and that's who needs to see our road first at hand. So that's what we did. And going back a little bit on the history, we talked a little bit how Snide and St. Regis were so connected to Valleyfield, Huntington, and Casablanca. Everything we did came from there. For some reason, the language barrier kind of took it over. We all went to Cornwall because we speak English. But before that, we had our bread man, we had a milk man, we had guys bringing their beef over here. Our lumber came from Casablanca. Our post office, everybody ran down there, without their letters. We were connected to our neighbors right here. And I kind of brought that up to the minister. And I explained to him that we were in Quebec City 2 weeks ago, prior to that, with the Minister of Indian Affairs, Jeff Kelly. Wanted to see the night enough was us in Quebec City. We were trying to rejoin and redo our relationships with them. So it wasn't just we went there and looked, we want money. We showed them what we're trying to do, build up our relations back up. That we were once partners, close partners, and that's what we explained to them. And we'd like to lift that back up again. I don't know, I think it was a part of their spin-off with them, and they said that they're willing to come back to the table for us. So that's on a good note for Quebec and our relations. Tony.
Are there any questions on that? One of the things that we've been also pursuing in affairs is to enter into discussions about financing some of our infrastructure projects, because as we heard earlier today, earlier this evening, about the administration building down here at the school road, and that's a ticket price of about $5 million, I believe, for that project. And one of the challenges we face is trying to find pots of money to be able to build it, because all the priorities are on roads or water lines. And one of the things that we, as a community, we're 90% already connected to water lines. The government priorities of water lines, when we go to them and say we want to build a new administration building, they say it doesn't fit in our priorities. So we're engaging with Indian Affairs and the province to look at ways of financing some of our bigger capital projects. And that does include some of the road projects, because what we want to be in a position where Indian Affairs or the province of Quebec says we will make those payments for your loan over the next 5 to 10 years to pay it back, because what the struggle that they're having is they just don't have enough money to meet the needs as it exists. Their grants that they have aren't meeting the needs, and the needs right now is water across the country, and we're a bit past that. So we're looking at different financing options to meet some of our infrastructure needs.
Yeah. On a positive note too, also DTS went down to Snide School Road up to the corner of Yo Hill Road, and they redug the ditches, and they repaired 2 driveways that had damaged culverts that were blocking the water from flowing in that area. So they couldn't dig the ditches any further because they're at the max depth right now, or else the water won't travel the way it's supposed to. So what they did was they just cleaned up the ditches in that area, and they changed those culverts that were obstructing some of the water flow. That was this past spring when the water issue was hitting the table.
Okay, yes.
Did you guys look at the corner of Snide School Road?
Yes, we did. When MTQ was here, we did take them on that. We told them how it is when 2 buses meet on that turn. And we addressed that some of the people traveling, even the local public traveling there,
would almost have to go in the ditch when they need a bus in that area.
Oh, we actually did. A bus ran us off the road, and my sister was driving my vehicle. We went into the ditch because she came through, and the second bus was watching. And when I reported it to the director of transportation, he said he brought it to your table already, and you guys are aware of that. But you guys won't fix that corner. So I don't know what he told you or what, but if you have a normal vehicle, a car, and you go down there now, even after tonight, try and drive your car around that corner and keep your car between the orange and the white line. You're going to see that there's no room to, it gets really tight, even for two vehicles, not just two buses.
Yeah, well, we identified that it was a design flaw over there.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, as soon as we get some monies, those are certain key areas that we'll be concentrating on, and if we're going to spend money in those areas, we might as well do it right the next day.
Awesome.
Yes.
So could that be like, to make like an official bus stop? For like all the American kids that come in, like all the parents that meet here at the rec hall, and then the school road, they meet, anything like that?
Well, that was also discussed there too. We probably got to work a way where to actually get the bus right off the road to pick up all those kids instead of park on the road and pick them all up. That way they can get on safely and get back on the roadway safely. Because right now you can control 5 or 6 kids, but when there's 20, that bus light right up. And believe me, on my road there was about 20 kids getting on that bus, and there was a scramble who was going to get to that bus first, and some of them ain't paying attention. So that's an area of our concern too.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move along. The next item that we have is business from the floor. Yes.
I have an issue I'd like to inform you guys about. I recently graduated from SUNY Potsdam, and I have to say that it was a really hard time. Yes, the academics were tough and all, and I completed my 4-year degree in 2 years. However, what really stressed me out and made it hard was the AMBI post-secondary program that you guys offered. In the fall, this past fall, I had applied for funding. I had applied for grants, everything was paid for. When I had went to the Board of Ed, they turned around and said, well, yeah, you have insurance on your bill, so therefore we got to deduct it from your allowance. And I said, well, wait a minute, I can't because I need insurance there. It's a law. And I was told, well, it's not a law here, it's optional. So you need to decline that insurance, and then you're going to get a refund. And I said, but I'm not getting a refund because they're paying for the bill, it's all covered. All I needed was allowance. Then I said, well, don't worry, it's only $1,000, we'll just take it out every single check on you. So just take out $250 every single check. Now I don't know if you guys can go, you probably could take that hit, no offense, but I'm getting $1,000 a month. That's below poverty. Now they took that out of me. Now I went and I said, okay, well let me try and see what other programs are there. Because I wasn't just gonna, take that, I was trying to find solutions. I went uninsured. Turns out they would do $1,000 a year. However, you have to pay for that. I do not have a receipt, therefore I did not pay for that, therefore they did not help me out. Because I did not pay for that. Because the grant paid for that. So then I went back to AMBI and said, I can't get that because they paid for it. So now, well, go ahead and decline it anyways and get a refund on that, and then that's your living allowance. That's what you're gonna have. I said, but I have no medical coverage either, and it's also a law. And I was told to do that, and if I would have did that, the grants paid for that bill. And if I were to go and do that and decline that insurance and pull that out, that's fraud. I would have to tell them what I'm doing. That, oh, well, you paid for my medical, but you know what, I'm gonna take it out and keep it. No, they paid for that bill. It was all in there. So then I said, okay, well, that's what happened. You know what happened this spring is I applied again. And you know what happened was that now I was told, yeah, Leonard, you have to decline it again. And I said, yeah, but I still need insurance. And I tried everything. And then I was told, oh, guess what? Yeah, you have grants in here. We need to decrease your funding because of the New York State policies. I have the documentation here, and I was wondering, well, why are New York State policies being implemented here in Canada when it saves you money, but then you're going to ignore New York State laws that say I need insurance in order to save you money? So my question to you, counsel, is which laws apply here? Do you follow New York State law, or don't you follow New York State law here in Canada? I need an answer.
Unfortunately, we don't have any education portfolio here today. So you and I did have a conversation about this. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a full response on that. I do apologize for you having to get the runaround on this, and I do acknowledge the question of when policies or laws apply and who it's convenient to. From what you're explaining to us, we'll have to take the information back and look through it and get a full report, which I've already requested from this morning's conversation.
And that's fine. I'm not looking for a resolution. I'm actually going to be going to Ottawa on this. As a part of transparency, you know that word you guys use during campaign time. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I'm letting you know how I was wrong. I'm letting you know that there have others been wrong. I know someone who had needed hardship money. ACFS turned around and investigated that person and said, oh, you need money for rent and food? You're neglecting your children. And they investigated her. She cried. And I had to explain and help her. I know of another student had to drop out because they couldn't pay their light bills. I know of other students who didn't eat. You know how many of us were up there and didn't eat? I know of someone who had a meal plan and was able to help feed us. Now, yes, I'm fat, and yes, I can miss a meal, but when you're studying hard and you're up there and you don't have money, you know what? We're not a third world country. We are not Africa. We shouldn't have to live like that. And then to live off $1,000 a month, your policies in the AMBI policies say that if you have a job and you work up to that $1,000, we're going to take it out of you. Okay, that's $1,000 a month. 8 months, that's $8,000. Do you know what the poverty line in Canada is? Can you live off of $8,000 a month? Nobody can. So then if we go and make that money, you take it out of us. Well, what's the point of working? You are holding us down. You are preventing roadblocks. You have been a major obstacle in my education. You are stressing me out beyond control. I just was livid. Now, fortunately, I passed. I completed my 4 years. 3 honor societies, scholars award, top of the thing. But it was no thanks to you. It was not to AMBI. They hurt me. They're hurting others right now. People are scared because they work for your organization and they know they're going to get reprimanded if they cause any concern. People are scared that are in school right now because they're going to get cut off. And we've seen that happen. People, your documentation gets missing. I worked for your organization for 15 years and I've seen people get screwed over. And I left your organization. My hand was forced to leave because of the administration. And I came and I said, okay, you know what? I'll leave what happened. I'm going to start anew. Now, as a community member, I can say I am now hurt. I'm disgusted by the way I was treated. And no one accepts responsibility. And it's right in all of these policies right in there that it's all following New York State law. How can that happen? Why do we have to do that? Why are we living like this? It is not cool. It is not. I have a family too. I tried to volunteer. I didn't have much time for that. I still try and be good here. But what we went through is horrible. And I know what happened in November. You guys had a meeting. I tried to get here, but I was in class. Turn around, people came to you guys asking for help, saying, we need this, we need that. What did you do? Did you help them? No, you said, oh, they need thousands of dollars. Let's take thousands of dollars and create a new position. Let's create a new position to whatever that position was. That's typical MCA. Hanyo, people need to eat. People need money. This is enough. Look, when you look at all of those policies, it's all about controlling. I have a solution that would easily solve all of this, but that would mean you guys would have to stop being control freaks. I see how much waste is going on, and you guys have got to clean it up. There's a lot of people that are hurt. And then you look at, you must have a huge success rate, or failure rate, right? A really high failure rate for people going back to school. And I can tell you why, because I lived through it. I have bills, I have receipts, I have everything. And that $1,000 a month is not enough. And it's going to get cut again. And for what? Like I said, where's all this money going? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, well, I apologize on behalf of the Mohawk Council for the treatment that you've received, but I do at the same time commend you for achieving your 4-year degree in 2 years, and over and above the treatment or the hard time that you've had to have with one of our departments.
And what about all the other people? Tell them that camera.
No, absolutely.
There's
I mean,
hundreds.
Yeah.
This is not just me or 2 people. There's hundreds of people that have been hurt and burned.
Well, we will take your case and ask for a review of it. I do have to say also, though, that there is a Board of Education that's elected also that we will have that conversation with. And there is an appeal process that we'll look to see if there's that ability there. Again, we'll take this information forward. I will tell you, though, that our council is committed to improving the customer experience in the organization, because some of the things that you've said, we have heard in other places. People coming in to receive services and have either been stonewalled or just the service they get as a person. Nobody should be treated like that. And I tell you that our council's committed to changing that. That's one of the things that we've pushed forward in the organization. It hasn't been easy, right? This comes with how we work as an organization, how we approach our people, and how we do business. And people don't like change, right? If you've been nasty to somebody your entire time being somewhere, try to get them to be nice, right? Or try to have a little humility. It's not always easy. I'm not saying that all programs and services are like that, but just that thinking. Council's well aware, and this is something that we've been pushing in the organization. And we've also been pushing to hold people accountable for when these sort of things happen. And I'll tell you, when we say transparency, accountability, we are pushing hard on that. Can we do better? Absolutely. Can we do better at this table? Absolutely. But that is something we continue to push down on. And we'll do what we can to ensure that these sort of things don't continue to happen, right? I mean, you and other people who are going to school are our future leaders. They are our community members. At some point, we'll be replacing all of us at this table and in the community. So I apologize for the experience that you've had, and we will find out, where has things gone wrong, and we will figure out how do we better it. Because I'll tell you that one of the things that I have seen that we can acknowledge we've done wrong, but we still don't fix it, right? We still don't learn from the wrongs. We just keep going, and the same thing continues to happen over. And I tell you that our council is committed to changing that. Alex?
I just wanted to say that I was at that November meeting that you were talking about, and look, I had expressed my concern too, because having a student who goes to a University of Buffalo, the tuition's a little bit higher, and he wasn't getting any funding from EMD. He had gotten turned down for funding, and we were getting tuition bills too. And we looked other sources of funding and everything, but my big concern was, he's a full-blooded Mohawk. He's living in Snai, and he's not receiving any funding, and we're still getting tuition bills. So that was like my big concern as to why, when we have kids that are living in Buffalo that have never lived here that are getting more money than my son. After that whole debacle happened, Nolan came home at Christmas time. We were having a lot of family problems at that time, and he didn't do that great in school. He lost his eligibility for funding, and lo and behold, a lot of people knew he was doing well. He had a good enough GPA even with the bad semester to keep him above 4. So he got second chances from all his New York State Pell and all that stuff. So a few weeks ago, I get a call from Amby saying that, can you come in to the office? And I said, for what? And they said, well, you have some checks here for Nolan. And I said, for what for? And she said, well, they've been sitting here since December, and I have 3 of them. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, can you just, do you have time to come in? And I was like, Veronica, I said, I've gotten a letter already for this semester rejecting Nolan for funding. It wasn't delivered to me or Nolan, it actually got delivered to the SNI rep. And somebody from the SNI rep called me and said, Nolan has a letter here from Norma. Can you come and pick it up? And I was like, okay. And it was Wayne Thomas. He's the one who called me. And I said, well, why is it there? And he said, I have no idea. But it's here. And I'm assuming it's, maybe there's a check in there. And I knew there wasn't. But so anyways, I go, and a few weeks ago, I go see Veronica at area management or Board of Ed, and she gives me 3 checks for Nolan, totaling enough to pay for his food for last semester, which I was very grateful for because usually before Nolan got hurt a few weeks ago, he spends summers in Buffalo and doesn't come home and he trains there. So that money was going to be able to pay for his rent and his food for the summer. And but I also know that he didn't meet the grade requirements to get that money. So me coming here and causing a big stink about it obviously had that effect of getting services that he should have been getting all along but wasn't, and now he's getting them and he didn't deserve them. So when I asked, well, how come it took so long for me to get these checks because you know it's May? And she said, I've called 23 people today to come and pick up checks that have been sitting on that desk since December. And I said, what did she say? And she said to me, that's not my job. And whose job is it? Because 23 other kids have been waiting for money. You know, and his checks were like, you know, to cover his food for the year, for the semester is $2,800. So he had checks sitting there that were dated December and January for $2,800. And he just got them in because that wasn't her job. So, I mean, just to, you know, I don't want them to take them away now, but you know, but it's a process that is dependent on who she wants to do it for and who she likes and who she doesn't like, and when she feels like doing the work and when she doesn't. And that's pretty well known throughout generations of students. You know, she did it to my husband and he decided to go back and take classes for school. She decided to go on a month-long vacation, which is, you know, everybody deserves, but if you're going to go on a month-long vacation, then why do anything and go back to school?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. We'll follow up on some of that also that's provided. We have one over here, and then we'll come back over here.
Just going off of the story of both those individuals, you present to us this election law, we're modernizing it, we're sitting on it, so important for election of leadership, and we have focus meetings, we want community input. I understand that, but what they're talking about is more important because the election law will come and come and come. But as our children grow older, this situation will happen, as they said, again and again and again and again. So take that policy, take it to council, review it. You people were elected, you review that policy, take it to their board of education and say, this is the flaws we got, because this is the flack we get from the students. We're fixing it and you're going by it because our people are starving, they're going hungry, they're quitting, but yeah, we're still living a grand old life and they're struggling in poverty. And you said we are one of the top communities in Ontario, but yet we can have a story like that in our own community. So take that policy, bring it to your table, and you guys do it, because obviously somebody's not doing it. And make people accountable so people like that don't have to starve. People like that don't have to be so stressful, because I know what stress is like. And I know what it's like to go to school and have a family and be stressed. And if anybody's ever lived it, by golly Jesus, it's stressful. As a mother, as a student, boy oh boy, it is stressful. So fix it. And there's something else I want to know is it going to affect the students going to New York State University, SUNY, whatever? Because isn't something new coming up in the fall, free tuition for all members with a certain income, below this income? You get free tuition into college or university? So does that affect our students with our Board of Education? Because really, it shouldn't. That money should go into other areas in their life that they see feasible and not what we think should go. just a comment, just saying.
No, thank you. We'll follow up on that also.
And I think it will, just to say, we've done research on that, and like, you know, for my son, because he's a student athlete, he is not allowed to take 15 credits, and that's what you have to take. You have to take 15 credits in order to get the tuition allowance that will cover the rest of your tuition after you're tapping your belt. And he won't be eligible for something like that. But that covers tuition, you know, and there's so much, you know, tuition is probably the smallest part of your college bill when you think about it, you know. So you get a $6,000 tuition bill, but then you get a, you know, $18,000 everything else bill.
Yeah, comprehensive fees, parking fees, and they don't cover that, and there's orientation fees, and they don't cover that. When I had quit my job, I went to them first. Oh, everything's all paid for. You're native. Oh, that's gonna be great. And then I quit my job. And then, oh, Leonard, what? We don't pay for comprehensive fees. We don't pay for orientation fees. We don't pay for gift fee. We don't pay for parking. We don't pay for travel. We don't. I'm like, Hanyo, what the beat do you cover? And then my books, one book, $500, American. Oh, well, I can give you a couple Canadian. Well, that's not what it was. My bills were over that. My books were $1,100, and I didn't get that. Now, I knew there was going to be some cost. I understood that. But to get screwed over every single time at every turn, and to see other people doing that too. And to have that woman crying that her kids were going to be taken because she asked, can I get some money for rent and for food? Oh, you're a bad mother. Take away your kids. They investigated her. She cried. I helped her in campus on the quad. I felt so bad for her. I'm lucky I knew what to do and what to tell her where to go, though. And luckily she got her children back. But really, that's the way it's going to be. So I'm going to tell everyone, do not go for that hardship money. They're going to screw you over. They're going to make you a bad parent and take your children from you. I've seen it. I only know the rules, so I was able to help her out. But that's what the help that you get out there. And it's unacceptable. I'm sorry to be this angry about it. I thought I could compose myself, but it's just too much. When I think of everyone, and then on my way here, I'm getting more messages that I put on Facebook. People telling me how they got screwed over. I'm getting bings from Messenger. All of they did this, she did this, they did this. I'm like, what the hell? This is not cool, guys. It's got to be fixed. It's just not cool. Because I wanted to come back. I wanted to bring my MBA, which I'm going to get at Clarkson. And I'm going to do an accelerated program. And no one's going to stop me. I'm not letting Mohawk Council stop me. I'm getting my degree. But you know what? I had planned to come back. I planned to come back and be a part of this community. But you know what? Why should I? Why should I? Why should I bring that
They're not
back?
going to hire you. Look at all these people that went away and got their college degrees and it cost them too much to hire them. So they got white people coming in.
All right. So was there,
That's enough for us.
at the back there was a question? Go ahead.
I'm really surprised that council doesn't stand up and stand. Why did you allow this to be a topic of discussion? What you should have done was to open up a session on its own without it being advertised. You have to be very careful with privacy protection of your workers. And this is what you conveyed, and now it's going on the air. Be very careful.
No, we acknowledge that, and I thank you. I mean, the general meetings are an opportunity for the community to express how they feel. We do try very hard not to put names in it. I mean, I know it is very emotional and difficult, but it is something that we are conscious of and that we do editing on this. But I tell you, we do stand up for our employees. I mean, we're not going to be in a position to debate this with community members, whether it's right or wrong, understanding that there are situations in every situation. There are two sides. There's factors on both sides. We'll take the information in and do what we need to do and review this sort of thing. I mean, everybody has expressed some of their views on this. Some people have experienced it, others haven't, and we'll take it back. I mean, and I've said that we are committed to changing how we deliver service. This is a service delivery. That means the organization. I have told our employees that we are, as a community members, you're also providing a service to the community. What makes us really super unique, but it's also at the same time very challenging because the people that you can deny are the people that you probably will encounter, within the next few days. And that's what makes us strong too. We are a very strong
But each
organization.
and every one of you also owe an apology to Norma. Every single one of you. You could have stopped the discussion. Hold a session on its own and not have to be aired like this.
Again, we try to balance it. I acknowledge what you're saying, and that we're not trying to run any employee over, and that doesn't promote the morale. And we are considerate about what ends up getting put out to the community. Yes, here.
Who are we talking about? Norma who? No, I'm just saying, 'cause it's Norma that was.
I think it's not about the discussion that we're having is not about individuals. It's problems with policy and application of policy, right? I mean, how do we fix the system that these things do not continue to happen? And I tell you that our council is committed to changing the systems that these don't continue to happen, right? And like I said earlier, we need to learn from the mistakes that happen. Maybe they're not always mistakes either, right? I mean, that's part of our duty and our responsibility is to take that back and figure out where those flaws are, if there are any. Over here in the back.
And to add to the comment that was just said about Andy, I was a student at St. Pat's too. I'm a mom of 3 children. I was given $500 to live off of my children while I was at school. Who can live off of $500 with 3 kids? That is why this was brought to this table right now. It wasn't to diss anyone. It was to put it out there to show the program and the policies of what we're dealing with. I had to quit school. I'm one of the ones that had to quit. I couldn't afford it. And you know what? I'm not going to give up. When all this gets changed around and we get a better living allowance, I'm going to go back for my bachelor's. I want to do my computer science still. But right now I have to wait. All my bills covered up. So we're not sitting here calling down anyone. We're talking about the policies that need to change.
Yes, and it's our responsibility to bring that in and figure out how we fix the system.
Well, my issue wasn't with everything. This is my own issue. As born and raised in Snai, my hunting and trapping equipment was seized by the police, charging my nephew with it, and they're saying machetes, which I use for my traps. They said that is illegal. They charge him with it. He's scared. They're saying they charge him with my rifles, which are hunting rifles. I bought legally under my name. It was in my gun cabinet. They went in because he made his own mistakes. But they took everything and they're charging him with everything. And it's, why is a machete illegal all of a sudden? He wasn't wielding none of them. They were all in a gun cabinet. But now, I don't have my guns, I don't have my traps, my machetes. Well, I think my traps are still there because they didn't, cops don't know, They took the machetes saying that it's illegal and saying that we need to have a license to hunt, or we need a license on this res, which I, from understanding, we do not need a license. We do not need nothing to hunt right here in Snai on the Queen's land. So for our Aucries to take my hunting rifles, our rights took it. And I cannot, me myself, walk into that police station. Because of my size, they will take me as a threat. And then I get arrested, shot, beat up, which I have been beat by the police before. It's done, but that was uncomfortable. But now, because I learned my lesson, that's why I came here tonight. I need help because my rights is being taken away. And my nephew, he's scared for his life.
All right. Well, I will ask that you have a conversation with one of the chiefs offline after the meeting here to get a bit more particulars, and then we can follow up on what some options are there for you. Okay. Over to you. Go ahead, Tracy.
Are we able to?
Yep. Anything.
Okay. So I come to you as a mother
I am also a Mohawk Council employee. And I just went back to work from an extended maternity leave for my son, who is currently 15 months. Upon going back, I have total faith in the child care system here within Akwesasne. We have 3 districts with amazing teachers. Every district brings their own special place in this community. Like, every district is packed with great-hearted, good people. And I trust and I have faith that they will take care of my children. On May 23rd, I was supposed to go back to work June 20th. I just did. May 23rd, I was called and said that the infant room in St. Regis is now closing due to Ambi wanting their room back. Because the numbers in Scowajila are increasing, which is great. Yes, that is fantastic. I was told by the person handling that at that moment in the child care system, as well as the program manager, the director, not the program manager, the director, that this is a ripple effect that's happening in St. Regis. That this room is closing, so now the preschoolers, whose numbers fluctuate every single summer, they increase, they decrease when school starts, because it's that age where they're not old enough for the summer program, but they can join in daycare. The infant room is going to be kicked out of St. Regis. Now, Mohawk Council has 3 districts with 1 infant room that will take kids from 6 months to 16 months. My child is 15 months. I had to beg that child care facility in Snai to take my child, because the option that was given to me is that I live in Snai, I can drive my son to the island, who was breastfed at the time, who I had to take an extended leave from work to breastfeed him. I can take my breastfed son to the island from Snai, drop him off, if I need, and to go back to St. to work for 8 o'clock. Then if he needed to eat, I can leave St., go to the island, come back to St., and continue. How am I going to be a good employee that way? You know how the border is. We all do. Setting me up for failure is what was happening. As this started to come, anxiety was ridden. I am a college-educated mother of 3 who has been self-sufficient, has never been on welfare, no down talk to anybody who does. But I could see this failure coming at me full force. I'm not going to be a good employee. What am I going to do? I have no child care. Let me tell you about my ripple effect as a community member, from the directors, from the program managers, from the portfolio chiefs, any of that. I understand a ripple effect happening, but my ripple effect as a community member is I told the director that I would have to lose my job. I would have to quit because I couldn't. I'm not going to discredit my reputation with Mohawk Council of 5 years, and say I'm not a good employee anymore. I would quit if I don't have childcare. The infant room has a steady waiting list. I know of 13 mothers who are currently on maternity leave, expected to go into work within a year, that will not have childcare within Mohawk Council because there won't be enough room. I then explored American side. Said, okay, you have to go back to work, you have to look at this. $150 per week, American, to have my infant, who doesn't meet the age requirements yet, to a toddler room, $150 a week. My son, who is not old enough for summer program, is 4 years old. He is going to be, I pay $200 a week to Akwesasne childcare. If I went to the American side, that's $1,000, not including the exchange. I pay $1,000 to live where I do in Snai a month. That's what I pay. So now I'm going to have to pay a whole nother rent for my child to be at daycare so I can work. Does that work? No. So what's that going to do to me as a mother and as a community member? I am going to slip below that poverty line. I am going to put the whole cost of my family on my partner who works his butt off for us, who's allowed me to stay home for 3 months without pay. Because Mohawk Council told me I couldn't have any pay to stay home with my son. So then this was going to be a reality. Now, me being college educated was going to have to go on welfare, apply for this hardship fund, be investigated, the whole thing. I would have had to. That is not okay with me. So thankfully, the staff at Snide Daycare worked with me. They are under the ministry, told them they could have an allotted amount of percentage, small percentage, a sliver, that 1 kid or 2 kids can be under the ratio of the age. So even though it's 16 months, my son's 15, they can allow it. I was thankful for that, but that's not going to be the case, and this is going to be a problem that's going to be continuously coming to your table. You districts need to work together. I can't even tell you the amount of urgency that happens, that this investigation needs to happen through these child care agencies, through the directors, the program managers, and see, because you're going to set your people, mothers, fathers, up for failure. I am a very good employee. I take a lot of pride in making this community a better place for my children. And to lose entire faith in that really, really hurt. And so this is something that's going to keep coming to your table. So I didn't come here for a total vent session to tell you what. I came here for you 3 districts to come to a common goal or an understanding that we need expansion immediately in Snide, in St. Regis. There was a business owner in St. Regis that came up to me and said, "I'm sorry you're going through what you're going through." I had a full-on and blown anxiety attack on May 23rd. Couldn't even breathe, that's how bad it was. That is what my reality was at that time. So this, working together, finding expansion, finding a room, don't let that infant room close, because the reality of it now, you 3 districts have 1 infant room for 6 children. 13 mothers right now currently work for Mohawk Council are going to be seeking that service and not be able to. What's that going to do? That's our ripple effect that's going to happen, and that's not okay. We're supposed to empower our community, strengthen our families, and that's not going to happen with the decision that was just made. And to put the cherry on it, parents have not even been told yet. That is the hard part, is that the community hasn't. I mentioned it to an employee and a parent, and they both said they have no idea that this has even happened. Mothers who have currently their application in a child care center have no idea that this happened. I am spreading that word, and as a mother, that's not my responsibility. But it is my responsibility as a mother to stand up with other mothers and for other mothers and fathers of this community and say, this needs to be a priority. Our babies will not stop coming here. You know, they're going to come all the time. There's people pregnant right now that are still, they're getting pregnant. It's all happening. There's babies coming all over this place, and this is a priority. And I want that to be taken this way, because that part of my family, that's how it affected me. And it's essential. So please, work together, work with your departments. Make that a priority, because this can't be happening the way it is. It can't.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention and for explaining the impacts that that has on your family. And you're absolutely right. There's probably more than a 13 in our community, and it's, portfolio are here and they've heard you, and we will advance that issue. So, thank you.
Other questions off topic of that? I've come to the conclusion that in the process of self-government, are we going in that process of governance, that we're going to be self-governing ourselves? That's why all these laws are coming into effect. And if so, my question is this. If so, have you quite likely told the community that we are going to be a self-government in the future years to come? And if so, you are an elected council. Has Mohawk Nation Council of Chiefs ever been advised of what's been going on, and are they having an input into this? Like, because there are three different government elect in our community of Akwesasne. We've got the governing bodies. They're governing bodies, but what does Mohawk Nation Council of Chiefs have to say about anything? Because they're elected. We had two elected councils, and anything that happens within any government high up, like the UN, we have our people have like chiefs that go as a representative from Akwesasne and up, Mohawk Council or Akwesasne, and they delegate at that level. So when it breaks down, and then you hear Abram do a presentation on what he's said, and you read about Peter Garrow doing this self-governance and whatever. What does the Nation Council, what do they have to say? Because it also involves them. And are we going by, it's not being traditional, or it's not being modern. Like, I know we're trying to modernize, but what happens to the values that they hold valuable as we go forward in modernization?
Maybe Connie and Louise can comment on that, but I just want to say something that we do have tri-leadership meetings with Mohawk Nation Council and the tribe. And as far as I know, the Mohawk Nation was always invited to sit at that table. And they were sitting there at one time, occupying the seat, not as a voter, but just as an overseer, to make sure some of these things you're talking about is being protected. And they just fell to the wayward side, and they continually be invited to sit at that table, but they haven't been showing back up.
Is it less interest from them, or is it just that it's not important?
Well, the Mohawk Nation, nobody can speak on their behalf, but they practice sovereignty, right?
What do we practice?
We practice sovereignty in a certain way also, but we're a governmental body that accepts funding from the federal government, and the Mohawk Nation Council Chief does.
So your question is not a simple answer. There's not a simple answer to it. Peter Garrel and the Wadatui team have been wanting, they presented at the last meeting, they're going to present at the next one. We are negotiating a self-government agreement as a band council with the government of Canada. So through the development of that, the Mohawk Nation has been invited to participate. Exactly how much participation they've had, I don't know, but the lead is with the Mohawk Council and the Government of Canada to negotiate a self-government agreement between us and the Government of Canada, us as Mohawk Council, not as Akwesasne as a nation.
So it's just Mohawk Council, so it affects only the northern portion.
Yes, well, yes, but it affects the people also as people of the community, or enrolled Indians of the community.
I don't know, it's just not sitting on my thing.
We can, we'll have that presentation next month that you can have a bit more.
What does self-government mean to you? Like in just a simple sentence, what does it mean?
It means the assertion of our rights and to be able to govern our people, right?
And it has nothing to do with funding. like funding will always come in. but we will-
Unfortunately, because we're a band council, those things are tied together as it exists now. And I'm telling you, Joan, this is how it is. I'm not saying that I agree with that, right? Governing as a nation, as a community as a whole, is somewhere that we should be as a community at some point, right? But it really, unfortunately, the processes are always tied to funding as they are right now, right? As
Is
they
there any
exist.
other nation in Canada that is self-government, self-sufficient? No, is there, it's just one, I just want one. And give me an example of what.
There's a lot of First Nations that are governing themselves, and what the kind of agreement is, land claims or land settlement and stuff like that. But the only one that's very similar to us, but then again, we're like miles apart, is West Bank out in British Columbia.
So where do they get their money from?
They get their,
They generate their income, where it's it's like, West Bank out there is like Toronto.
Okay, so that was a very key word. You said they generate their income. So where would we generate our income?
through orange source revenues or through leasing, or it's really about economic development for us, right? But with the reference in which she's showing is a band council, right? And so when you talk about there's a couple different ways of looking at self-governing, right? And is it we self-government through a piece of legislation empowered by the government of Canada, or do we exercise our rights as inherent as people, as a collective, right? Which it doesn't matter what a piece of legislation says. So there's different ways of looking at it, right? So the way where the self-government that we are doing as the Mohawk Council is negotiating agreement between Mohawk Council and the government of Canada.
So present day, you've heard mega issues that have happened in present day. So will those issues still continue in the future if we become a self-government community where we'll have our own revenue coming in, but yet we haven't even resolved that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of growing to do as an organization. We're getting there, but there are some situations that arise based on funding agreements that restrict how we deliver it. Now, some of these things that we talked about today or tonight, maybe or maybe not, but I'm just putting that out generally. There are some things that are restricted by the funding agreement. Where we ideally want to be is that we're not restricted by that, but there's still the resources to come in, and that's some of the negotiations.
Will we always have those resources coming in if we're self-government?
Believe me that, as a community government, we don't want to be in a position where we are, where we have to depend on the federal government for their transfers, right? We're not there yet.
When do you feel that we will get there? Like, how long have we been in this process?
We've been in this process for probably 10 solid years.
So will we be in another 15 years, be 30 whole years before we become self-government?
No, we will sign within maybe, I'm gonna say, within 5 years or maybe 6 years, we'll have a final agreement. And that final agreement is what the people will be voting on. Once you accepted that agreement, and then it will be then given to Canada, and they have to take it to their parliament and say, this is what Oxelston wants. And then once it's ratified by Canada, then we have a 10-year window to implement this whole thing. And they're giving us that kind of a term to get everything in order. Right now, what this exercise is showing us, just going through creating this agreement, it's showing us that, and it's not only showing us, we know that we're not getting the proper funding. It's showing them that they are not giving us the proper funding, and because I'm going to take education for example. There is a huge gap between what Canada gives to a child attending a provincial school and what Canada is giving to a child living on a reserve going to school. There is a huge gap, and these people that were sitting there negotiating with them, I don't know if they knew that, but they're just saying, wow, that's really sad. So now it's making them know that when we go into this self-government, we want the same level of funding. The same level of funding that maybe what they were doing is Canada was giving the money to the province, and the province turned around and gave us some of it. We're cutting out the middleman. If we go under self-government, we're getting the money directly from Canada. But again, we're gonna have to hire an economist. Want to take on this responsibility, we need to know for sure what kind of money that's going to take to eliminate Ottawa and the provinces and have that money come directly to us. We need not to shortchange ourselves, that we need to hire an economist and they'll say, well, this is what you need to run what we're taking over from Ottawa. Because before, especially with lands, and this is one area that we're concentrating on, if we are going to be managing our own lands and eliminate Ottawa bureaucracies of how they administer our lands, that's where we're going to have to make sure that we're going to be better than them. And I mean, to transfer our land here in Akwesasne, it would take a year to get you selling land to her, and then and before she gets to CP, it takes Ottawa over a year to do all the paperwork. Well, we're hoping that we're going to do a better job here in Akwesasne, and it won't take a year. That if you want to buy the land from her, you can actually do business and do whatever you want if you want that land.
So
there will be a lot of reviews.
Just to add to that, the Eniwedatwa program and the negotiations are including a financial transfer agreement that we're working on, and that's going to come, again, like Chief Thompson has mentioned, it's quite a few years away, but taking into consideration all the issues we are having now and the potential for our growth in our population, you want to be able to make sure that we're self-sustaining and that we can negotiate proper funding in all of these areas for us. One of the key things as a community that we need to consider now is our own source revenue. We need to be able to take on some of the things that Grand Chief presented today and not any other economic development concepts here, that we start generating our own source revenue. So that sits on top of what that transfer would be. So one of the other things they're also negotiating is the exact own source revenue that we have now or that we may earn, because they talk of taking that off the bottom line, and no First Nation will allow that. That's what we fight right now, that we say it's our own source revenue, we should be keeping it. That's what's helping us do a lot of the programming now. So when we look at that financial transfer agreement, again, once that's looked at too, that'll come to the community to look at. But as Chief Thompson mentioned, we're looking at an economist that will come in and tell us what we should be getting and what that will look like when we start to do that transfer and negotiate that with Canada. So we'd have one transfer agreement to us and not all these small ones that keep coming from different areas of funding pots. And hopefully...
My recommendation, and I've heard it from Chief Thompson, I'm hearing it from Chief Lazar, is we are going to hire an economist. Can you look for a native economist and no more non-natives? And a little story I'm going to tell you about hiring non-natives. And I hope you all listen very carefully about this. I work in a facility where it's non-native populated. And it's a healthcare facility, as you all know. And I've heard two stories, and it's quite interesting because the two stories I've heard is in regards to nurses. And they both work for Mohawk Council. And our council, as they were employed by Mohawk Council, they paid for, because they were an employee, we paid as a council, as a community organization, we paid for their educational advancement, as I shall say, in the field that they're in. We paid for their free conferences, food, room and board. Like we've said in past general meetings I've said, we promote education for our employees, i.e. including non-natives. So we do that because we're promoting it. We're promoting advancement. We're promoting more quality assurances in our programs. Unfortunately, they're non-natives, and unfortunately, they're contract. And unfortunately, they leave us with what we've given them, what we paid for them. And they go on to better, bigger and better things. They go on and they make their own business out of free education from Mohawk Council. I've seen it, I've heard it, and it's happening. And I was appalled at what we do for your employees that are non-native, because they're contract people. They're not lifetime, they're contract people. And they get paid to go to conferences. They get paid for any education component they have. They get paid for their licenses. And then they leave with what we've given them. Thank you very much, Mohawk Council. I really appreciate it. I have no outstanding loans thanks to you. Just wanted to give you that little story. Next time you decide to hire a non-native, which is fine, you can do it. But in the contract, no educational, no free conferences, no housing, no boarding, no food, no nothing. You go, you pay your own. This is monies for programs for Ungahumwe only. Whether you're Métis, whether you're Mi'kmaq, I don't care. Akwesasne monies, Akwesas Lone only. Because you know what? We get June in the end. And we did. Because the money that we put up for them was thousands. They got their masters, they laughed, they said, well, that's all I was there for, because I know they give free. Just saying.
All right, thank you. Esther, did you have something?
Self-government, is that something that, like I know you're going in that direction, is that something that the community has to have a say in, if they want you to go in that direction?
Yes.
Yes, there was a vote at one point in time?
It's a process that's been underway for 15 years. I don't know exactly where the mechanism was that there was the consent to go down that. We can research that. But since it's been happening, there have been information and consultation meetings that have been occurring over the last 15 years as to what is going on. But we can find specifically out on history. Well, as I said earlier, though, we wanted to bring Andawatatu actually to this evening's meeting, but we already had a pretty packed agenda. So we will be bringing them to the meetings to talk about the self-government and talk about the financial supports, to talk about what this means, and we can talk more about where this began and how the community consented to going down this road. But at the end of the day, the community will be required to vote on it, right? There will not be entering into any agreements without the community's consent, and that will be done through a referendum. Okay, I'm going to have to start wrapping up this evening. We are getting a bit late, so we'll limit the number. If we could keep the commentary down, we'll take the questions, but we'll try not to have too much.
All I want to know is, it's been in the newspapers about this land that you guys find. Now there's a company coming in there and going to try to make some apartments or whatever, and it's what do you call that? No, the land, Indian land. It's Indian land. It's our land. But you've made an agreement with Broadway to do a business or whatever. Now this guy's coming along because they don't want their land. They don't. The one company's giving it up.
Yeah.
So this guy's coming in and he wants to buy it and make apartments. Now, have you stopped anything? Do you know anything?
So you're probably referencing an article that was in the newspaper where a contractor has gone to the federal government and said that we want to buy these surplus lands. It's not the lands that we have ownership in. It would be lands that we have a claim in. But we did reach out to the government and reminded them that if they're going to be selling any of those lands or doing anything with those lands, they have to consult with us on it. But from the information we got back, they're not selling any lands. The way the newspaper portrayed it was that the contractor was going to the government and was going to buy those lands, but the government's not selling those lands. He's tried; they've said no already. The other thing is that the city is, because of their zoning bylaws that exist, is not prepared to change their zoning laws to allow for commercial development like that. They want to keep it as parks. So the land's not for sale. The government's not selling it to this company. The newspaper portrayed it like that, but the government's not. And we've reminded the government that this is a claim area and they have to consult with us.
So is anything going on the lands that you've made partnership with? Is anything happening?
Currently, right now, we're in the development stage of the corporation, the body that will oversee it. But right now, there's nothing happening per se.
Well, I have an understanding that you guys gave Cornwall 2 acres out of that stretch of along the river.
Part of the
you gave them 2 acres. Is that true?
So part of our consultation, we did inform the community that the transfer of the bike path would be transferred back to the city. So
What community did you talk to?
This one. The parcel of land, we'll just say as a block, has a strip of it that runs then yes, it was transferred to the city.
Why don't you just give them back their pavement, man?
It was part of the initial deal that was struck way before we had agreed to enter into it.
Who was part of that? Wasn't negotiations?
The former council, I don't know specifically who.
This is the diversity
Yes.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Cornwall. Yeah, that came to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did, but not the 2 acres that we gave.
It was part of the whole negotiated deal.
I never heard that. 2 acres.
Okay, Paula, you had a question also?
Yeah, I was reading your post on Facebook. I just wanted to follow up and see council approved a letter to Cornwall Crown Attorney regarding sentencing.
Yeah, so there was an individual who was going to be sentenced for a crime and we agreed that we would send a letter to the Crown asking for one of their conditions to be that they be not allowed to come to our community. Part of their sentencing.
On what basis?
They killed one of our community members, and they were a non-member. So the person doesn't have any reason to come here. So we wrote a letter to the Crown saying that whatever conditions they get as a release or whenever they're released, that we ask that they're not allowed to come here.
It's a non-member.
Non-member, yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, we have done that in the past. There's always been people who are not members of our community.
But also, he just found out that somebody told him that he's got Indian.
That's someone else.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same one?
It's not the same person. Yeah. Same case, but different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sure about that.
Okay.
And the native liaison funding agreement thingy?
Yeah.
Is that a staff person we have?
Yes, it's an ongoing position that we have. So we sign an agreement every year for the continued funding of that position.
Who's that person?
Currently right now it's Brian David.
The services where?
In the OCD, the jail in Ottawa.
Glitches, Ontario?
Yeah. But we do have, through justice outreach, they have outreached into Quebec jails if the need arises.
So did he take, what was her name then?
No, it used to be a Miracle. So at one point it was a John Miracle from Tyndonega had that position. Yeah.
Oh, they recruited for that too.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what are we doing about Ward 3? You guys, do we got a plan for that?
Well, through our emergency operations, there is plans in place for disasters, is how we would react as a community. So there are plans in place for things like that. I mean, war is a bit extreme, but it does, things like that could jeopardize the borders and us being able to move around. So there are plans in place for things like that.
Yeah, because I've seen, as of last night, I've seen waves of B-51s, fighter jets, Hueys, everything heading to the East Coast. There's Hueys, like, the war is coming from what I've understood. And I was wondering, what do we do as an organization?
Regardless of what we have seen, our council has been aware of the world politics, and we've ensured that our departments have these plans in place should something happen. Right? So. Go ahead.
Mind if I come up and just pick up that flag off the floor? You're stepping all over it all the time. It's our nation's flag, and you're just sitting there stepping on it.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize there wasn't a front. So I have Rob, and then we're going to have to end up wrapping up for this evening.
I just want to add about the education and a couple other things revolving around that. It's pure economics. I don't know who the portfolio holder is for the education. But if you look at the difference between the natives and the non-natives and what you get, this is pure economics. I mean, we're affected in a lot of areas. Like with the education, welfare is what, 20-30% less if you live on the reserve than if you live out there? Am I correct? Who's the portfolio holder for welfare?
There is a bit of a difference. It's not that high, but there is some.
And the education, these guys that are traveling,
yeah.
I know I got kids that couldn't finish school because they couldn't afford the gas. They couldn't afford the traffic. So they had to drop out. So you look at that. And it even goes down. It affects us in a lot of areas just when you buy a vehicle. The last vehicle I bought, there was $10,000 difference between Cornwall and Morrisburg. I got it $10,000 cheaper out of here. So we're getting affected economically by these sharks out there. So we need to do a study from Mohawk Council to expose that. Just because we're native doesn't mean we get the short end of the stick every time we turn around. Listen to the horror stories. You see that in our community continuously. No.
Yeah.
I'm sure if everybody looked around and did a little economics, they could see it, and they'll have one more story coming out.
Yeah.
Those are pure facts. So I suggest that maybe this council could put a committee together and look at those areas and address those.
Yeah, no, that's a good recommendation. We can take that under consideration to be able to get a better study on some of these areas that are affected by it. So.
At the Tim Hortons too.
Yeah.
It's cheaper in Ogdensburg
Is it?
than it is right here.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm just going to have to... I'm sorry. Yes.
You didn't let me ask that last.
I'm sorry, Paula.
Public safety, and I just wanted to know if there was an update with respect to the recruitment of our chief of police. What's the status?
It's ongoing. There's 4 candidates that are left. We had 7 in total. So by July, we should have somebody in place. So making sure that the chair of the commission is one of the interviewees, or interviewers, I should say.
Okay.
So it's ongoing.
All right, so I just have to read a resolution for the record to approve and accept the general meeting minutes of May 25th, 2017. Could I have a mover? Tim, second by Troy. Discussion? Questions been called. All in favor? It's carried. So our next general meeting will take place on July 20th at the Nolago Arena on Cornwall Island. Our district meetings are Gawanoga, July 10th, Gistina, July 12th, and Ganadago, July 17th. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Joel, second by Connie. All in favor? All right, thank you very much.